All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So we did one interview before with Bill Shaw, and everyone seemed to love it. So I figured we better bring on another one of our competitors. So we're here today with Chris Baer, and he drives a 2.6 Pro Street diesel truck called the Rowdy Ram. This is our 2022 points champion with CS Pulling Promotions. How are you doing, Chris?
Good. How are you, Chase?
Good. Thanks for coming on. So I think we should start off, and I don't really know how you got started in pulling. So I think we should start off, if you give us a little history about how you got started in pulling and your first truck.
Oh boy. So it started 2001, and my first truck was at the time a '98 Dodge Ram 2500, just my everyday driver. And of course, you're just out of high school and this great Stoneboro Fair has a truck pull, so we got to go truck pulling. So did that and kind of got hooked, but quickly, being younger and that I didn't have the funds to chase it the way I wanted to. So a little bit after that time, I got involved with the Diesel Hot Rod Association, the DHRA, and my girlfriend, now my wife at the time, we would travel around the country, and I was a tech official and she'd do registration for the DHRA. So that's kind of where the passion of diesel motorsports evolved, and that goes back to the original Shies event and such. So that's where it started and how it started. And
yeah. So at what point did you build the Rowdy Ram?
So the Rowdy Ram was actually originally built by Lauren Miller with Warren Diesel Injection, and they built it as a 2.5 truck and ran it for a season and a couple pools. And I bugged Jesse for a long time. I'm like, hey, sell me that truck. You're a Ford guy. You've got a Cummins. And we finally came to an agreement, and I purchased the truck. It's nothing the same as what it was then. When the only thing that is still the same is the body, and that's it. We've completely changed everything over the course of 4 years, 4.5 years now. And here we are with what it is now.
Constantly evolving. I know you did a lot of work, this past year before the 2022 season, right?
Yeah. So 2021, we changed a lot of chassis stuff for the 2021 season, and we found some more power. And the original engine, the 5.9 that the truck came with from the showroom, had 336,000 miles, and we beat it for 4 years on the pulling track. At Langford, New York, it finally said it had enough, and the block cracked on us. So that at that point, it's like, all right, now it's time to really build this thing out. And so last winter, the winter of 21, we built an entirely new engine and did some more chassis work, not as much as we did the previous year, and then came out this year with a whole lot more power and proceeded to continually tear the driveline up. So I think that's going to be the story going forward with a 2.6 truck, with our rules limiting us to a lot of OEM components.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it seems like the guys are making more and more horsepower, but with the limitations to the 1-ton driveline, I think that's where you're going to see it become very challenging.
Yep. Yeah. So like originally, like our class, most all the diesel truck classes, they pulled a 26-inch hitch height. We got a 24-inch to save the drive lines. That was the whole reasoning for that. But we were 750, 800 horsepower trucks at the time, and we're way past that now. So now we're going to be back to the issues of just tearing drive lines up, keeping transfer cases, ring gears, axles. You're just going to have a lot of spare parts to get through the season. So
for the people that for some of the people watching, they might not know the horsepower range, and you don't have to give us an exact number, but what's the range of an average 2.6 truck horsepower wise?
I would say your range. So your top end, and guys are very very shy about their horsepower numbers. They keep a lot of it secret. So it's tough to get guys to really admit what the engines do. So on an engine dyno, because we don't chassis dyno our trucks, you can't. So it's true engine horsepower at the crank. 1250 is about one of the high limit right now. So we have achieved that number. I mean, I'm proud of the number that Dustin with Apex Diesel has created with that engine that we have in the truck now. We kind of surprised both of ourselves when we put it together earlier this year and put it on the dyno and got the power that we did out of it. And then like your bottom end trucks in our class now, I'm going to say are probably around the 1,000 horse range. There's very few that don't make the 1,000 horsepower number now, but a good average is going to be 11 to 1150 would be probably 80% of your trucks probably.
Yeah, and I know a lot of the top running trucks, they're coming out of Ohio, and of course you and Ron, some top trucks here from Pennsylvania. So, and you guys can compete all over the country, and I think that's one of the things that I really like about your class. And we've talked about this before, but you guys can go run anywhere. You can run out west, you can run down in Diesel's dark corners, which you have done this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being a PPL sanctioned class, Lucas Oil class, that allows us to go anywhere. They have 4 diesel truck classes that are nationally sanctioned diesel truck classes that can go throughout the United States to events, and the rules, everything is just going to be the same. So the fact that we can be a part of that means a lot. Myself, of course, Ron King goes with me a lot, and he even travels more than I do. We like chasing these big events because sometimes, I mean, we have incredible competition here. There are some incredible trucks that come out of the state of Ohio that Ron and I battle against weekly throughout the summer months. But to be able to go to some of these shides and diesels and dark corners and compete against the Georgia trucks, the Wisconsin trucks, guys from Missouri, even Nebraska, that's a good time because it gets all of us together that we think we're at the top of the game and hash it all out on the track. And it's a fun time. So I enjoy the competition because we want to be at the top of the sport. So that's how you
guys. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. And you guys were down in Diesels and dark corners. You want to tell us a little bit about how that went?
So Georgia this year, this was my first trip. I was going to go last year, and of course we blew the truck up in New York, so that wasn't happening. You cannot get parts to put an engine together very quickly, we found out. So Georgia, this is my first trip to Georgia. We pulled Friday night and Saturday night down there. Saturday night rained out, so we only got to do one run, one hit on the truck. And as is normal for me, luck of the draw, I was second hook. So out of 32 trucks. So that being said, we did the best with what we could with it. The track changed a little. I didn't get the sled set exactly where I wanted it, but I was very impressed with what the truck did. We made some changes about a month ago to the front end to get it to bite harder. The first time we went out and tried that, we imploded the transfer case into 1,000 pieces. So it worked, when you tear that up in the drive line, the truck hooked up. So we put it back together and went to Georgia, and the truck did hook up again. And we were able to get 10th place. I think 9th. So I was 10th place. The 5th place truck was 9 inches in front of me.
Really?
That's how tight the competition is at the top. I mean, when you throw the best trucks together, of course, Ron, he went farther back into the field from me, and I got to set his cone and told him where to send it, and he did, and made probably the best pass that his truck has ever made. And he walked away with 4th place out of Georgia, which he will tell you is about the most impressive thing that a 6-liter Ford can do. It surprised the whole 2.6 world down there. So.
Well, I think it's really impressive that both you and Ron went down there and top 10. How many trucks were there? Over 20.
There were 32 trucks. Wow. And so when I say 30, those are 32. 32 of those trucks could have won. It's a stacked field. You don't load your truck up and drive 12, 15, 20 hours at $6 a gallon diesel fuel if you don't think that you have a chance at winning. They don't pay, very far back. So like to be in the money, you have to, unless you just really want to go on a road trip. So the guys that showed up, I mean, these are the best trucks in the nation. And so to have two trucks come out of Western Pennsylvania that pull with CS Pooling Promotions, to go there and to come out of the top 10 in the nation, that we were thrilled and happy, and all our hard work has proven that we have good trucks now.
Yeah, it was really impressive, and just heavy hitters from all over. I mean, there's guys from Ohio, all over the country, really, that went there, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, all over the country, literally. The in our world of 2.6 pooling Pro Street Diesel, so we consider to like our biggest competition. There's a lot of really good trucks coming out of Wisconsin, the state of Ohio, and then of course the Georgia trucks can beat anyone at any moment. So
Yeah,
they're all good, and many guys from other states. But it's something else to be able to go there and represent our area and do
yep,
well. So
yeah. Yeah, it looks like a fun time. I wish I could have went down because, man, it was just so cool to see all the local guys go down, even Jesse Warren,
yep.
from our area as well. So, it's
Yeah,
really
and what
cool to see all local
I think
guys go
Jesse
down.
went down, and didn't Jesse go down and he got fourth place,
Yeah,
I believe, so in the super stocks, and that says something. I mean, that's an incredible running truck now with that billet
yeah,
block.
yeah. So, any plans to move to some bigger classes like super stock in the future? Or?
No, not at this time. Um, so like a 2.6 truck like mine, like the Rowdy Ram, I would say another $10,000 investment, we'd be a 3.0. Like
Yeah,
that's where we're at. Like everything is there. We would just have to cut out a few components and add a few different things. So that would be the next logical thing, move up to 3.0. And that the downside to that in Western Pennsylvania is there's just not a lot of there's no competition. There's not a lot of trucks. So then we would be traveling out east and farther into the state of Ohio to pool. And I don't know. I don't feel that I'm done accomplishing what we can in our class. So,
yeah,
and to be honest, if the day that I'm done being a 2.6 Pro Street truck with the Rowdy Ram, I feel that I would just retire that truck, put it in the back of the barn, and build a new truck. So,
yeah,
um, give that truck to my son someday.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And I think we're going to see increase in numbers in Pro Street in Western PA and Eastern Ohio. There's a lot of these trucks that they're running in say Sportsman Street Diesel, and they're already running a 2.6 Charger, and just they're so close to being 2.6. So I hope that they make the jump up to 2.6. They help out the numbers, and you're competing for 3-4 times the amount of money that you would in a street class.
Yep. Yeah, I think there are a lot of guys that are on the cusp of jumping up, and they're friends of mine, and I'm strongly encouraging them. I'm also trying to encourage, a lot of the Ohio trucks to venture our way and pool in our area here. There's a handful of trucks out of the western part of New York that I go up and compete against once a year, and it would be nice to get them to come down too. And then I also, there's the reality of the price of things right now, the expense of getting to the events, the time and the fuel costs, and that are hard on guys. So there are a handful of 2.6 Pro Street trucks in our region that are just parked right now.
Hmm.
Um, so hopefully the climate economically can change before next year, and it's affordable for everyone to get their trucks out and go and enjoy a little bit of this freedom.
Yeah. And now, coming from a driver's perspective, what do you think one of the main factors in getting 2.6 trucks is?
Um, I don't know. I feel that like, and I hate to say this, but there's some guys that won't come out because of the competition, because they
Yeah.
in their mind they're like, I can't compete. And then there's other guys, it's just purely like a cost thing.
Hmm.
Our class when it started, you could affordably get into it and build a very competitive truck. That's not the reality anymore. The amount of money that you have to put in and time if you want to be one of the top trucks is just ridiculous, to put it nicely. So without the sponsorship help that I have, I honestly couldn't do it at the level that we do. Of course, with Dustin and Apex Diesel helping us out, that's just huge. There's no way I could afford the parts that he puts on that truck that make it go down the track.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it's going to take or what it would take to get the guys to come out, other than if it's in your blood and you're passionate about it, you're just going to come out and compete.
Yeah.
It's nice to know that you can go out and compete and potentially win and get into the money. But at the end of the day, I just want to go and have fun. I don't
Yeah.
drive to Georgia or anywhere else thinking that we're a winning truck. Do I think that we're good enough that we might get lucky? Yeah. But the reality is I just enjoy doing it, and I enjoy the people and the family atmosphere of the truck pulling world.
Yeah, and I think you almost have to be in the sport because obviously no one's in it for money.
No, not really. I'd love to be to change that. I've always thought to myself that, and it makes no sense to me that truck pulling is the one motorsport that you can't make a living doing.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that. Like, where we have all these every other motorsport that you can think of, you can make a living racing snowmobiles, dirt bikes. I mean,
Yep.
but you can't pull in a $250,000 diesel pulling truck. So it's just, we need to change that. I just don't know how, but not saying that I want to make a living being a truck puller, but more guys would be involved in the sport if financially it wasn't a strain on them, even if it was just a break even, that they would be involved in it. Because I mean, you don't look at a hobby as something that you want to make money, but in this day and age, if the hobby costs you enough that it's taking food off the table, potentially you're gonna rethink it. So
Yeah. And that's the bad part because, and I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, but I think even with a 2.6 truck, you've got to be over 100K to make a competitive truck to be in top 5.
Oh yeah, in this day and
It's
age,
just,
for
yeah,
sure.
economically, it's just not feasible.
No, I mean, if unless you can just luck into something like to build a truck from the ground up, the numbers are just crazy now, and it's even gotten to that point with your lower classes, your street classes, and it's just cost of components, just stupid things like tires, like what our tires cost today compared to what they were 2 years ago, if you can even get them. So, like when your tires double in price, it's just that hurts. So, and you tear this stuff up, you constantly have to put into it to keep it going. So
Yeah. Well, and the bad part is your cost is doubling, but your purse is staying the same. And that's one thing that I'm trying to work at. I know next year our minimum purse is going to be $2,000 for 2.6 trucks, and that's going to be the bottom line. That way, you guys, it's not great, but it's better than what we have been paying, and it's better than a lot of other organizations and these smaller venues. These fairs are only paying. They might try to give you a trophy or a couple $100, and it just doesn't work.
yeah, and that will help. That will honestly, that'll get guys out and trucks out. A lot of poolers in their mind, if they can show up to the event and walk away and it was a break even. And when I say a break even, your fuel costs, your time and money to get to the event, not the cost of the truck. If you can walk away with that and you go home and it didn't cost you anything to go that evening and pool, that a lot of guys, that means a lot. So winning the money is great, because then it makes it easier when you have to buy the parts and the tires and new turbos. So
and I'd like to see some of the I think the mistake I made this year was a lot of my first, second, third trucks, they got a lot of money, but some of our lower level guys, they didn't get a whole lot. And I think that might have discouraged some guys from coming and pulling with us, because if you know you're not a top tier truck it's almost they think that there's no sense in coming because they're not going to get paid. So that's one
Yeah,
of the other things we're going to change.
yeah, I think that all that, like, if even if they can get their hook fee and a few bucks for fuel back,
Yeah.
all the trucks like that helps. I mean, I'm not saying that there needs to be like a minimum just for showing up, but if there was a minimum just for showing up, that would maybe get guys there. I don't know. Um, yeah, it does turn people away when, like, if they think, well, I'm not going to drive that far because I can't win.
Yeah.
And the way I look at it, on any given night, anybody can win if you
Hmm.
try hard. If you try
Yeah.
hard enough and you're smart about it. We all have good trucks, and I've been beat many, many times by guys that they just surprised themselves that they did it. And
Hmm.
that's how this sport needs to be, and that's how I want it to be. Like, there, nobody should be dominant, and when any truck can win on any given night, that's good competition.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're right. And yeah, I mean, you pulled at a lot of good events, and it just seems like there's a big mix of top tier trucks. You don't, I mean, you probably have a top five that are going to be that you can guarantee are going to be first, second. But as far
Mhm.
as the competition goes, it can be mixed up. So that's what makes it nice about your class is it's so close too.
Yeah, yeah. Like, if you look at the results on a lot of evenings, um, at the end of the pool, even if there's half a dozen to 15 of us, everything's bunched together.
Hmm.
So the very, very rarely is there like one truck that's just out there 8, 10 feet in front of the rest of the field. Um, and that's fun. Like, I mean, when we're beating and competing by inches, like when we went out to Shides, I mean, you take 12 of the best trucks in the country that qualified for the evening show, and they all finish within like 3 feet of each other.
Hmm.
That's competition. Now we're cutting inches. So what can you do? What can you change to get another inch out of your truck and get it to bite and hook differently and that. So to me, that's fun. Like
Yeah.
that makes it fun. So
Yeah. Yeah. How was Shies? Because I don't think we talked about that yet. I mean, that was probably one of the biggest events that you probably attended this year, right?
yeah, yeah. Sides was probably the biggest for me. We did go to Langford, New York, to the Langford
Mhm.
Nationals, and then of course Georgia, and then I would say Shides. So those would be the real three large events where you have a lot of competition.
Mhm.
So Shides is dusty and hot. So Friday was rough. With the 2.6 Pro Street trucks, we have to qualify to pull in the night show. So they take we qualify on two separate tracks. They take the top 6 trucks out of each class. 12 trucks pull at night. Um, I don't remember the exact numbers here. 26 or 28 trucks roughly
Oh,
total.
wow.
I think they put 14 or 15 trucks on each track for qualifying in the morning. And so we would pull in the morning, and it was very dry and dusty, as Shides is known for. So the first morning, Friday morning, there's we pull on wet clay. It's
Mhm.
Western PA. It rains. Our tracks are always wet. So I was not set up for that. Nothing was right. I did not qualify on Friday morning. So, go back, and that night we changed some things in the setup to make the truck hook differently than we do at home. And the next morning, so Saturday morning, Saturday's the show that you want to make for
Mhm.
some reason. Saturday's the big show. So Saturday morning we went out and qualified the number one truck. So
Oh,
we were the
wow.
number one qualifier. So that obviously a big boost of confidence and a change from the day before when we weren't able to qualify to come out and to be the top truck in qualifying.
Yeah.
And then luck of the draw, just like Georgia, I'm one of the first trucks down the track, number 2 hook. So you can't drop the hook. You're living
Yeah.
with it. So and we picked the line, and went down the track, and everybody just followed us. We made a road, and as the 12 trucks went, it literally each truck just went a couple inches farther than the next one in the same exact spot. So we ended up at 8th with an 8th place finish for the Saturday night show at Shides. Which, still being said, okay, it's Shides. This is the best trucks in the nation, and to walk away number 8, I'm proud of that.
Yeah, so, another top 10 finish. I mean, that's nothing to be ashamed about. So, yeah. So, other than those bigger events, you ran some small events. So your first event was at Knox, right? May 21st.
Yeah. So that was the first event, and for our pulling season this year, and actually our first 2 events were with CS Pulling. We went Knox, went out there with. And then to Hummingbird, racetracks. Racetracks are fun to pull on. If you can go far enough, you can start going around the bend. That's which we did at Hummingbird. That was 392 feet or something. It was crazy. So, so the Knox pool, that was our first time ever hooking the truck with a manual transmission. So the Rowdy Ram has been an automatic truck forever. And we ran a built 48 RE, and it was very predictable running an automatic transmission. You do the same thing every time, the truck will do the same thing every time. So then we thought we needed more options. So we had Profab build us a transmission, a 3-speed this past winter. And that was the first time actually running it. And for the guys or anybody that's watching that doesn't understand, so the Profab, we have 3 different options of gears that I can run. And in my truck, first gear is direct drive, and then the other ones just go faster. So how fast can you make the truck go and get it to hook at the same time without blowing the tires off? That was our struggle all season. So we tried different gears, different everything with the how we preloaded the front end till we found what works on certain tracks, and that I did find out what works on racetracks, and that was what we did at Hummingbird. So we duplicated that every time, and it did well. Knox, man, I just got lucky. That was there's no test. So I mean we launched the truck for the first time with a manual transmission. Dan Valence at Baer Clutches built me a custom 4-disc clutch, and it's weighted. So that was just a different thing. If you've driven a vehicle with a clutch, it doesn't feel like your street pickup truck with a clutch. So luckily I didn't screw it up, and the truck did its thing, and it was able to scrap out a win there. So
yeah. And for those of you that are watching it, didn't get to see it, I'll play the video here. This is the first one from Knox. So. Maybe here. So the first run on the brand new Rowdy Ram.
Yeah, and you can even see in the start. So like I noticed it, like how when you watch the tires start to engage, and that like you see the little chatter, and that's learning the clutch. If you show the video of Hummingbird, that was a smooth launch, and it just, as the season progressed, we got better with controlling the launches and the truck doing what I wanted it to do. So
and we got that video from Hummingbird because that was the one where you started going right around the bend.
It was great. It's the greatest feeling in the truck to go 33, 34 mile an hour. I mean, that's cooking in our trucks. So
yeah, we'll play that one here.
All right.
That was cool.
Yeah, yeah, that was something else to start going downhill and around the bend. So
Yeah. Well, I think we kind of threw our sled operators for a loop because we started up on the hill, up on the bank, and then you
yeah.
go down. So the top speeds were crazy. I mean, we were
Oh,
35
it was
mile an hour.
crazy. We had that, and then the fact that it's a dirt racetrack. I mean, this is clay. Man, do the trucks bite into those tracks? They just love it. You're either going to hook up or you're going to break something. So
Hmm. Yeah. Those were your first two events, and then you made a run at Weeklands and still top five in the class, I believe. So,
yeah, I don't remember where we placed at Weeklands. So my truck, it does not like muddy tracks, and um, Weeklands, we had a lot of rain and everything, and the track was really wet. So I just cannot, I can't get mine to hook on soft tracks. I need hard tracks. Um, we do well at like a Bunker Hill facility. I mean, usually that's a very tight track. I would love to get my truck back up in the Warren County Fairgrounds at some point in time because that's one of the tightest tracks in the nation.
yeah.
Georgia was really tight down there with the red clay. So, and I'm pretty stubborn too, and I think that kind of hurts me. I'm loyal to those mud grappler tires on the front of my truck because I think, I mean, we have the power, and if you have the power and you can make them work, they'll put you out front.
Yeah.
So
So, do
um,
you ever switch tires then, or do you
I
pretty much just
used
run them
to,
all season?
but I didn't this year. I left the mud grapplers on. I took my STS tires to numerous pools, and there were times when Ron's like, I'm switching, and he switched his tires, and other guys did, and I'm like, nope, I'm just gonna send these. I should have switched at Weeklands. I can tell you that right now. And there were 3 or 4 other events where I honestly should have.
Mm.
But if you can make those mud grapplers work, man, I very rarely get beat by a truck that doesn't have them on. So I
Yeah.
kind of look at that. You know what when we do get beat, what are the other guys doing? You know, what they do different that night. So and yeah, so I don't know. Next year I'll be loyal to the mud grapplers again. Other than a few tracks where I know now that we'll probably just not even bring them.
Yeah. And that's pretty much the only two tires that people run in 2.6, right?
Yeah, for the most part, the BFG all trains used to be the tire to have. Very few trucks across the country will ever run those anymore.
Hmm.
And there's a couple guys that try different things, different parts of the country. Um, Down in Georgia, they have different dirt, so they can run a different type of tire than we do, a more of an all-terrain style, and they do very well with that. Um, and then they bring them up here, and one of them brought Hank brought his truck up for size and whooped on all of us with them, and we're all like, "Geez, oh
Yeah.
man, we haven't run those tires for years, but boy, did they work!" Um, so it kind of makes you think, though. It's just like, okay, what we did 10, 15, 20 years ago, we thought we evolved past that, and we're like, oh no, that we do this and it's better and everything. Maybe some of us need to rethink and go back instead of trying to rewrite the book and do some of the stuff that we did many years ago because it worked then, and we just
Mhm.
thought that we'd come past that and there were things that were better. So it makes you wonder.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know every time I post a video of you and Ron's truck, either one, people are always asking about the tire offset from your front tires to your rear tires. Do you want to explain the difference there?
Okay, so the idea is you want the front and the rear to be in different dirt. The front tire is as it's digging along, it's tearing the dirt up. You want the rear tire to be in different dirt. Um, so you want the truck, the sled will load the rear of the truck. The chain and the weight of the sled loads our rear tires. So that's where you get the weight on that. The front of the truck is loaded with preload in your weight bar, your weights that you put out front. So we try and offset the tires to be in fresh dirt and to allow the load difference from the front to the rear to work differently.
Hmm.
There's 2 ways that tires are offset. Like when you see a pulling truck and you're like, well, how is that? So like Ron's truck, his axles are shortened and cut, and that on my truck, it's done with wheels. So we have custom made real racing wheels with offsets on the built into the wheel, and then on the fronts of the truck, that's the rear. The fronts of the truck, we put spacers and we space the wheels out. So so that's the idea there, and what we're trying to accomplish. If we were dualies, like if we were a 3.0 truck, it would be a different story at that point. But as single wheel trucks, we want all four tires to be in fresh dirt all the time, if possible.
Yeah.
So,
and one of the other comments, someone asked if it was less stress on the rear axle after you shorten it, like what Ron did.
I don't know. So, let's put it this way: on the front end of a Dodge truck like mine, with a 9 1/4 AAM axle in it, the short axle side, so the driver's side, because the pump pin is offset to the driver's side, is the one you brake. So you brake the short axle 5 times to 1 that you would brake the long axle. A longer axle, the length of the axle shaft itself, will allow it to twist and flex, I feel. As you shorten them, they become very rigid, and so it's not truly stronger. So I won't say that there's any advantage or disadvantage to say like the shorter are going to be stronger or anything. When we break axles or anything like that, it's when you see the trucks hop. So when the pan, the sled loads the rear of the truck, and it doesn't bite properly, and the rear end will hop up and down, because as it comes up, the tire's rotating, and then when it comes back down to the ground, they bite just so hard right at that moment, and you just snap the axles. So
yeah. And your truck, you really didn't have any issues with hopping this year at all, did you?
no, so my truck has never hopped ever.
Luckily,
I'm
yeah.
actually kind of proud of that. But this goes back to what I was saying. What we did 20 years ago. Everybody changes things. I still use some of the techniques that we did 20 years ago, 18 years ago, on setting the chassis up, and it worked then. The trucks didn't hop then, so and it still works now. It keeps me from hopping. So I don't break, knock on wood, but I don't break axles. The truck doesn't hop. We tear ring gears up. We did that this year, but that's usually on the launch or at the very end when you're stopped and you're digging your holes at the end of the track is when that happens. And that's purely just a torque. That's just we're putting a whole lot of torque through these OEM components that are in your street truck, and they're just not designed for that. So they have a life expectancy. So
yeah. So other than like what goes into building a 2.6 truck versus a street truck? So you've got your pulling hitch, hood stack. I mean, there's quite a few differences, right?
yeah, so like the big difference in a 2.6 Pro Street truck, so we have to have an OEM body. So the shell, the body of the truck is factory. It's still metal. Other than that, there's typically an OEM frame underneath of the truck still that's massively trussed. So we truss the truck up. There's no suspension in the rear at all. The fronts is on a lot of the trucks is still a factory suspension setup. Most of the trucks put hydraulic steering because they bite so hard they tear up the factory steering components. The interiors are gutted on the trucks for weight. You don't want anything in the interior. So there's the driver's seat and a steering wheel and a couple gauges and your switches. And then, yeah, we run hood stacks. That just makes life easier working on the truck because you don't have a downpipe and everything. A lot of the trucks, the fuel is up front on the weight box. Most of us carry 2 to 3 gallons of fuel at a time. We'll burn a gallon to a gallon and a half in a pass. So we have enough fuel in the truck to make one pass. And that's it. My truck, and I would say half the trucks out there, there's no coolant in the engine, and there's no alternators on the engine. So they live on a battery charger. They're towed to the track, fired, run the 300 feet, shut off, and towed back to the trailer. Due to the fact that there is no coolant in the engine. So, and the only reason for that, it's not a power advantage or anything. It's just if you do just crack your block or something, you're not injecting coolant into your oil system, which then immediately will take the turbo out and ruin a lot of very expensive billet components inside of the engine. So oil and water or oil and coolant don't do well inside the engine. And then our hitches. So we run a drawbar style hitch. We're not allowed to run Reese hitches in our class. So there's 100 different styles of that within the rules. But we have to run hitch adjusters that go down, and just look at, as if you're at pools, look at the trucks. You'll see everybody's got a different take on the hitch. So and what they think works.
Now, do you and Dustin do all the fab work yourself?
No, so my fab work is done by Ben Thompson. He's actually if you see us at the pools, he's my guy that's towing me around in the side by side. He's my helper. He built my chassis, all the fab work on my chassis, and he did Ron's chassis, and he's done a number of other 2.6 trucks. He's a fabricator and a welder. I am not, so that's just not my thing. I can drive the truck and I can do other stuff with the truck. I leave the fab work to Ben, and Dustin does the engine. So
okay. Yeah, and Dustin over at Apex Diesel, he was one of our sponsors for CS Pulling Promotions as well. So he's one of our class sponsors. So huge shout out to Dustin over at Apex Diesel, because he put up the big championship purse. And then, funny enough, you actually won points with CS Pulling Promotions, so you got the points check there. You'll be getting that tomorrow at the banquet. So
it kind of worked out, but we were glad to. I mean, it's always good to win and to be able to not just win an event, but to come at the end of the season and having done well enough through the season, consistently enough to be a points champion truck. So it takes a lot of work and to keep doing that, and a lot of, you break the truck and you got to get it fixed and spend money to get back out, or you're gonna get behind on that. So
yeah. We appreciate all your dedication all summer, because you were at all of our events, and it does take a lot to run points. I know we were talking about that our last interview, the amount of work and effort that it takes to keep up with the points series. It's a lot. So I appreciate you running with us. And is there anything else you want to talk about here before we cut off?
I don't know. We got a lot in the works for next year. The Rowdy Ram's already in the barn. It's been, if you ever watched any of my social media posts, it lives in a real nice barn. The engine is coming out of it any day now. We already took our turbo off, and Dustin. So we run a guys know, we run a special turbo that Dustin created for my truck. As kind of like a research and development thing. And so he wanted it off. We took it off the truck right after Georgia, and he took it apart. And I was actually up at the shop yesterday talking to him and looking at it, and it's as tight and as nice as it was the day new. So we did 25 hooks on it and probably 9 or 10 dyno runs on that charger, and it's as good as the day that it was new put on. So that charger and the design and that will probably become mainstream, I would assume, and because we proved that it works now. It took us 2 years of trying to get it to figure it out how to make that charger and that setup work, and it has now. So any day, like I said, we're going to pull the engine out of the truck, and we're actually building another engine. So so the one that was in it this year is not going to be what will be in it next year. And we're continually moving forward. We made big horsepower this year. We made 1,257 horse on the dyno last spring, and we want to beat that. Like we think that there's more there. So we're building another engine, and seeing what we can do with that this winter. We're gonna spend a lot of time on the engine dyno with it and fine tuning it, and then we're also got a couple chassis changes up our sleeve once the engine comes out. The truck's going to look the same, but we're going to tweak a few things underneath of it now that we've figured a few things out over the course of this year with the profab transmission and that. So we're going to make it bite harder. It's going to go on a diet. So it being a mega cab truck, I'm kind of hurt on weight. I can't get enough weight forward compared to other trucks. I do have a 2-inch wheelbase advantage because I'm a mega cab, so I have 2 more inches of wheelbase. So we think that if we can transfer weight now and lighten the truck up, that's going to really help us too. So we're going to focus a lot on that, where we can shave a few pounds, even if we can move 100, 200 pounds to the front. That's going to be our goal. So.
Yeah. So big things coming next year then.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And we're going to try some new things from some of our other sponsors. Fast Fuel Systems sponsors us, so we're gonna be trying out their new competition style pump. And then I've got a few things that Yukon Gear and Axle gave me that we're gonna in the drive line that we're gonna add that will hopefully make it last a little bit longer, I hope. And even if it doesn't, and we keep tearing it up, it's going to make it easier to change stuff to fix. Yeah. Because the time is hard to find in the summer months to work on these things. A lot of wee hours in the morning laying out in the garage.
Yeah. And I'm assuming Dustin's going to build you an all new Charger then for next season.
Oh yeah. So. He's got I don't even know what he has up his sleeve, but it's something pretty wild. So he usually does. He thinks of all these crazy things, and I'm the guy that gets to try them. So we're gonna have something pretty wild. Hopefully by spring, and I'll share that with everyone. Like I mean, we're proud of what Dustin does in Apex Diesel and that, and I'm very fortunate to be on the front of what he's doing, and our truck to be a display and a test mule, I guess, for all his components. So.
Okay. And then your Charger will be available for purchase through Dustin then, correct?
Oh yeah. I imagine somebody could get it now if they had to have that Charger, call Dustin and talk to him. So like I said, I was up there yesterday and it's immaculate. In the meantime, it might end up on an engine and do some dyno tuning and that, and stuff. But yeah, any of the components that are in our truck, Dustin, there's no secrets. There's nothing in there that he'd sell and share that information and duplicate it. Go build the same thing and come beat us on the track. That's how I look at it, so.
Yeah, that's the name of the game. So.
Yep.
So yeah, like I said before, thanks for all your dedication throughout the season. I'm sure you'll be running with us next year as well. So
we plan on it. We're going to hopefully be able to run the whole series again. Next year, our plan is to continue chasing some of the big stuff. So our plan is to go back to Shides and go back to Georgia to Diesels and Dark Corners, and see what we can do on the national stage. So I enjoy that, and I'm going to make sure that that's something that we continue to do. So yeah, we're looking forward to next year. We just got to get through this winter. And our wonderful weather here, and by spring we're going to be all chomping at the bit. I know.
Yep. So people can find you on Facebook to follow some of your progress as well, right?
Yeah. We share on my personal Facebook page. You can follow and like things there and see. There's links from my page to my sponsors, to Dustin's shop, Apex Diesel, and everyone else that helps us out with the truck. And my fab guy, if you need something done, give him a call. I can get you in contact with him. He's good. And I just want more people to participate and follow the sport, because it's a lot of fun, and we're just normal hardworking guys that do this, and we enjoy it. So
Yeah, I always say your class is super easy going, and just a bunch of good guys. They're all pretty straightforward, and
yep.
so
Yeah, I mean, we compete for 300 feet,
yeah,
and we're best friends before and after, and we'll pull parts off our truck after we run to throw it on our friend's truck to try and let them beat us.
yeah,
So that's just how this is, and that's what I love about our class, and I love about this sport.
yeah, absolutely. Well, Chris, I appreciate you coming on, and
Yeah.
make sure to follow Chris on Facebook for all the updates and everything, and follow CS Pulling Promotions. You'll see Chris Baer and the Rowdy Ram out in 2023. So,
Yep, for sure. Thanks, Chase, and thanks
yep,
to CS Pooling and everything you guys have done to give us the opportunity to put these things on the track.
yep. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
All right. See ya.